Surprise!
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best improvised, unplanned, and off-the-cuff moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll only be looking at moments that made it into the final cut of the movie or show. There will be a few spoilers ahead.
Do it, Quill! I can take it.
No, he can't take it!
She's right, you can't.
Number 30. The Adults Are Talking. Avengers Infinity War. After Stephen Strange is kidnapped by one of Thanos' henchmen, Iron Man flies to the rescue, and so does Peter Parker against Tony's orders. When Tony discovers the young web-slinger on the spaceship, he's not exactly happy to see him.
You should not be here.
I was gonna go home.
I don't want to hear
but
it.
It was such a long way down, and I just thought about shooting.
And now
your
I gotta
head.
hear
Kinda
it.
stuck to the side of the ship, and this suit is ridiculously intuitive, by the way. So if anything, it's kind of your fault that I'm here.
What did you just say?
That led to this classic line, which Tom Holland later revealed was all Robert Downey Jr.'s idea. It's a great bit of comic relief in an otherwise tense scene, not to mention perfectly in line with Tony Stark's character.
Unlike everyone else in your life, I don't work for you.
And due to that fact, we're now in a flying donut, billions of miles from Earth with no backup.
I'm back up.
No, you're a stowaway. The adults are talking.
Peter is understandably a little put out by the remark, but just a few moments later, he gets redeemed when Tony officially makes him part of the team. Number 29. Intimidating Agent Ross, Black Panther. As a CIA operative, Everett Ross is used to commanding a little more respect, but he has no authority in the Jabari homeland, and their leader M'Baku is quick to remind him of that fact.
You cannot talk! One more word, and I will feed you to my children.
Wakandans, including the Jabari, are famously distrustful of outsiders, and M'Baku has no reason to listen to this random white guy who just showed up on his doorstep. When Ross tries to explain the situation with Killmonger, M'Baku leads the tribe in a guerrilla-like chant to intimidate him into silence.
Your Highness, the new king is a U.S. The new king.
It works. Winston Duke shared that he came up with the chant as a way of recognizing the Jabari's pride in their connection to the gorilla god Hanuman. Number 28. Secret Door. Avengers Age of Ultron. Good things happen when directors let Robert Downey Jr. ad-lib. After the Avengers infiltrate a Hydra compound, Iron Man searches for clues with Jarvis's help. The original script reportedly had no dialogue written for this moment, so RDJ got to have a little fun with it.
The wall to your left. I'm reading steel reinforcement and an air current.
Please be a secret door. Please be a secret door. Please be a secret door. Yay.
However, executive producer Jeremy Latcham should get the credit for arguably the funniest line in the scene. It was his idea to add Iron Man's excited little yay in post-production. The MCU has a knack for livening up otherwise mundane sequences with humor, and a big part of that is thanks to the cast's amazing talent for improvising.
Guys, stop. We gotta talk this through. It's good talk.
Number 27. Hot Sauce, Hawkeye. After Yelena Belova breaks into Kate Bishop's house, the two sit down for a heart-to-heart over a pot of delicious boxed mac and cheese.
Are you really not hungry? That fight was so long. It's really tasty, really tasty.
Yeah, I know what boxed mac and cheese tastes like. Okay, I know it's delicious.
Florence Pugh absolutely kills it in this scene and this role. Not only does she completely disappear into the character of Yelena, it was also her idea to add the hot sauce to the mac. According to directors Bert and Bertie, after Kate threw the bottle of sriracha at Yelena, Pugh insisted that the condiment actually get used in the scene. A hot sauce lover, she happily kept gulping it down over multiple takes.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I go?
Sure can.
I can put hot sauce on it? Ugh, I love hot sauce.
It's a tiny but memorable detail that adds a bit more depth to a mysterious yet totally lovable character. Number 26. Peter Drops the Orb, Guardians of the Galaxy. Although the MCU is known for mixing a lot of humor into its movies and shows, Guardians was arguably the first straight-up comedy in the series. From the opening scene featuring Star-Lord dancing, it's clear that this movie is going to be even more lighthearted than other Marvel properties.
There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord. Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Guys?
The jokes don't stop even in seemingly serious scenes, like when the Guardians meet the Collector. When Quill presents the orb, he initially drops it, a move that wasn't in the original script.
Let us see what you brought. 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 Let us see what you brought.
Director James Gunn thought the clumsiness was an accident, but Chris Pratt swears it was intentional. Gunn says he believes him, 90%. Number 25, Wakandan war chant, Avengers Infinity War. Filming 2 movies at once is a ton of work, but it has its benefits. Infinity War was in production at the same time as Black Panther, forcing many actors to split their time between sets. It also meant that they had developed a powerful connection to their Wakandan characters by the time the battle against Thanos' forces was shot.
Thank you for standing with us.
Directors Joe and Anthony Russo were surprised and delighted when Winston Duke began leading his fellow Jabari in an intimidating war chant. This inspired Chadwick Boseman to lead a similar cry later in the scene. It's a moment that fans, and the Russo brothers themselves, will probably never forget. Number 24. Therapy Session, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
This is ridiculous. Yeah, I agree.
See? Making progress already.
Given their history together, Sam and Bucky seem like an odd pairing, but it's nothing a little court-ordered therapy can't help. In an interview, Amy Aquino, who plays the therapist, revealed that Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie improvised most of the scene on the spot. That includes the interlocking legs bit, which Aquino says they nailed on the first try.
Closer.
Well, which way?
Why do you have to have your legs open? You know what? Fine. Here. You happy now?
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
We're locked
That's
in
fine.
now.
It's a little close.
It's very close. That's what you wanted, right?
Guys.
The scene is a brilliant blend of humor and seriousness, and even gives us some real insight into Bucky's deepest fears. Those personal moments with beloved characters are part of the reason MCU fans are so devoted to the franchise. Number 23. Throwing Bread, Spider-Man No Way Home. The third Spider-Man film in the MCU brings in multiple Spideys from other universes. When Ned creates a portal and accidentally summons Andrew Garfield, he and MJ are understandably suspicious of this stranger claiming to be Peter Parker.
I don't carry an ID with me, you know, it kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing. Why'd you do that?
I was trying to see if you have the tingle thing.
I have the tingle thing, just not for bread.
On an episode of the podcast Happy, Sad, Confused, Garfield explained that it was Zendaya's idea for her to toss bread at him. Though MJ initially claims that she's testing his spider sense, it quickly turns into a more menacing gesture.
Crawl around.
Crawl around?
Yes.
No.
Yes, crawl around.
Why do I need to crawl around?
Because this is not enough.
This is plenty.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is.
No.
How do I stick to the ceiling?
Do it.
Garfield is probably just glad the basket wasn't full of rocks instead of bread. Number 22. Blueberry? The Avengers.
In a few hours, I'll know every dirty secret S.H.I.E.L.D. has ever tried to hide. Blueberry?
It's long been rumored that Robert Downey Jr. has a habit of hiding food all over his movie sets. Vincent D'Onofrio, who starred alongside RDJ in 2014's The Judge, confirmed the rumor in an interview with HuffPost Live. In this scene from the first MCU ensemble film, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner examine the Tesseract embedded in Loki's scepter. Mid-conversation, Tony conjures a bag of blueberries seemingly out of nowhere, offering one to Banner and another to Steve Rogers. The move was totally unscripted, just a natural consequence of Downey's penchant for snacking and for improvising lines.
We have orders. We should follow them. Following's not really my style.
Number 21. Another Thor.
I need a horse.
We don't have horses, just dogs, cats, birds.
And give me one of those large enough to ride.
Chris Hemsworth didn't truly get to show off his talent for comedy until Thor Ragnarok, but true fans realized early on that the Aussie knows his way around a joke. In this scene from the first Thor movie, the God of Thunder is completely out of his element on Earth. As Jane, Darcy, and Dr. Selvig watch him shove pancakes into his face, he suddenly flings his coffee mug to the floor and demands more.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
According to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, the shattered mug was entirely Hemsworth's improvisation. That explains the rest of the cast's priceless reactions. Number 20. Move the Leg, The Hug, Captain America Civil War, and Spider-Man Homecoming. It's pretty well known that Robert Downey Jr. liked to improvise some of his dialogue in the various MCU movies he was a part of. Two notable ones come from his interactions with Tom Holland as the web-slinger in Captain America Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming. The first comes when Tony is talking to Peter in the latter's bedroom. Holland missed his mark, so Downey simply told him to move.
I'm gonna sit here so you move the leg.
It's such a quick line, but easily shows how Downey knows his character so well. Meanwhile, the entire hug scene in the car is one that came out of Holland spontaneously deciding to try to hug his co-star, who quickly gave the line that had producers laughing.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not there yet.
Bye.
Number 19, Paper Football, Avengers Endgame. You're stranded in the middle of outer space with no prospects of ever being able to get home. Thankfully, you're not alone, but what do you do with your time? If you're Nebula and Iron Man, you sit at a table and fling paper footballs at each other.
Oh yeah. That was close. That's a goal. We are now one apiece.
I would like to try again.
It's a nice bonding moment for the two heroes, but it may not have been part of the original script. Nebula actor Karen Gillan revealed in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter that the entire scene was improvised. Turns out the practice paid off later in the movie when we see Stark flick Ant-Man in very much the same way.
All right. Flick me.
Number 18, The Fighting Pose, Black Widow.
Such a poser.
The superhero landing and fighting poses are two of the most common tropes of the genre. For the latter, Black Widow has been seen with a very particular stance, especially when she flings her hair around like she's in a shampoo commercial.
This thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting with the arm and the hair, and you do like a fighting pose.
It's a fighting pose. You're a total poser.
I'm not a poser.
In the 2021 Black Widow film, we meet Natasha's sister Yelena, who could easily go up against Tony Stark in a quipping match. During a conversation with the stunt team about Yelena's own pose, actor Florence Pugh was not a fan of the idea at all. Her discussion of how unrealistic some of the landings are inspired writer Eric Pearson to write a joke about them on the spot. It worked beautifully, as this was one gag that certainly stuck the landing.
Ugh, that was disgusting.
Number 17, Scott's comeback line, Ant-Man. Another one of the great improvisational actors within the MCU has to be Paul Rudd. Long before he ever put on the Ant-Man suit, he was improving countless lines of dialogue in plenty of other films. So it's no surprise that he would inject a little bit of his own personality into Scott Lang.
Terrible.
You want to show me how to punch? Show me.
That's how you punch.
During the filming of Ant-Man, Rudd's character goes through a typical training montage, which includes learning how to punch from Hope. After taking one to the face, he quips back at her,
"Were you going for the hand?"
This was apparently just one of several different takes with improvised dialogue from Rudd. We can't imagine what other great comebacks ended up on the cutting room floor. Number 16, Ending Spell Scene, Spider-Man No Way Home. After Doctor Strange casts a spell that backfires and triggers the events of the movie, it all culminates at the Statue of Liberty. Despite his back and forth on whether Peter would be considered a friend, by the end of all of it, it's made clear that Strange cares deeply for the kid. This is made all the more evident with an improvised moment around the final casting of his spell.
So cast a new spell, but this time make everyone forget who Peter Parker is. Make everyone forget. Me.
No.
But it would work, right?
Yeah, it would work.
Both Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Holland were struggling to get one scene right, when Cumberbatch had the idea to initially reject Spidey's suggestion to have everyone really forget him this time. It gave the moment a heavier tone and showed how far the two had come together.
I'll see you around.
It's a lot, kid.
Number 15, Hammer Hang, Thor: The Dark World. It may not be the most successful of the Thor films, but The Dark World does have a few highlights, and ultimately helps shape future MCU outings. In an interview with Marvel head Kevin Feige, he admitted the eventual third Thor movie was largely inspired from comedic moments in the previous films. One of the more memorable ones sees Thor walk into Jane's apartment and casually hang Mjolnir on a coat rack like it's nothing more than a fancy hat.
The whole world is going crazy. All the stuff we saw is spreading.
Completely improvised by Chris Hemsworth, it was one of the earlier signs that he was meant to have a more comedic presence. Number 14. Snake Story, Thor Ragnarok. Easily one of the best aspects of Thor Ragnarok is the influx of comedy from Chris Hemsworth.
Ow. Sad to be sure.
We'd seen a little here and there, but this third outing for Thor really gives him some great spots to crack a few jokes. One classic moment involves Thor telling a story about how Loki had transformed into a snake and tried to kill him.
There was one time when we were children, he transformed himself into a snake, and he knows that I love snakes. So I went to pick up the snake to admire it, and he transformed back into himself, and he was like, "Yeah, it's me!" And he stabbed me. We were 8 at the time.
According to director Taika Waititi, it was one of 6 different variations they shot, all involving Hemsworth just making the story up as they went along. We love the idea of being so spontaneous, but we also can't help but wonder if Loki's grin is real, or if that's just Tom Hiddleston trying not to burst out laughing. Number 13. Vision's Death, Avengers Infinity War. The death of a major character from any franchise would be incredibly daunting for the actors involved. So when a director asks the performers to simply improv the whole thing, the pressure added is tenfold. Such was the case for Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen when it came time to film Vision's death.
We are out of time.
I can't.
Yes, you can. You can.
Asked in the moment to just improv it, the 2 actors were terrified, but went ahead and did their best. Both also claim they felt the whole moment was, quote, ridiculous, so it was horrifying to try and come up with a variation of the scene on their own. Thankfully, between their performances and fantastic ending, we got an amazing send-off of sorts for Vision. Number 12. I love you guys. Spider-Man No Way Home. The moment Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire appeared in Spider-Man No Way Home, audiences were rejoicing everywhere. As special as it was for fans, it was an even bigger deal for the actors.
I was in the Avengers. The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. What is that? Wait, you don't have the Avengers? Is that a band? Are you in a band?
It being incredibly rare to have them all together on one set, them playing their original characters simultaneously must have been beyond surreal. So it comes as no surprise that the trio would be somewhat emotional about the whole thing. This actually played out on screen in a quick line uttered by Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, just as they swing back into battle.
Wait. I love you guys. Thank you.
Garfield went on record saying it was just something he wanted to tell them all. Now we love him even more. Number 11. Get Help, Thor Ragnarok. Another great one from Thor's third outing is the hilarious Get Help scene.
Hey, let's do Get Help.
What?
Get Help.
No.
Come on, you love it.
I hate it.
It's great, it works every time.
It's humiliating.
Do you have a better plan?
No.
We're doing it.
We are not doing Get Help.
Word has it that director Taika Waititi was very keen on having a lot of improv on the set of Thor Ragnarok. And perhaps combining that with his unique style is why it's generally considered to be the best Thor movie so far. During one interview, Tom Hiddleston noted that he and Chris Hemsworth had been prompted by Waititi to play on their character's childhood. Hence, Get Help was born.
Get help! Help him!
Classic.
Still hate it? It's humiliating.
No, not for me, it's not.
Despite Loki's objection, Tom Hiddleston has said it was his favorite improvised scene. Number 10. Liar, Avengers Endgame.
Where is he now? Where? We don't know.
Given just how jam-packed this movie was with stories, characters, and action, you'd be forgiven for not remembering this blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment in Avengers Endgame. After being rescued from space by Captain Marvel, Tony Stark returns to the Avengers compound emotionally and physically defeated. Despite this, he finds the strength to confront Steve Rogers over his role in failing to stop Thanos in the previous film.
Tony, you fought him. Who told you that? You fight him. No, he wiped my face with a planet while the Bleecker Street magician gave away the store.
During this stirring tirade, Robert Downey Jr. decided to insert a single word into his character's dialogue that serves as the perfect reminder that the events of Civil War are still fresh in his mind.
No trust. Liar.
Tony calling Steve a liar was improvised, with director Anthony Russo calling the moment, quote, one of Downey's most inspired. Number 9. Peck Touch. Captain America, the First Avenger.
Women aren't exactly lining up to dance with the guy they might step on.
Steve Rogers' transformation from scrawny kid to buff super soldier is one of the MCU's most iconic moments. However, it wouldn't have worked if Chris Evans had not fully committed to getting eye-bogglingly jacked. Much to the delight of fans, Evans pulled it off, emerging from the procedure with bulging muscles worthy of the legendary comic book character. It's clear from Haley Atwell's performance in the scene that fans were not the only ones taken aback by Evans' shredded physique. While shooting, Atwell impulsively reached out to touch Evans' pecs, and the filmmakers decided to keep the ad-lib in the finished product.
How'd you feel?
Atwell spoke about the incident in an interview, quipping that she couldn't quite help herself when confronted by Evans' man boobs.
I couldn't quite help myself during the scene. It was the first time I saw him, and it was the first time I was that close, so I just kind of touched them gently.
Number 8. Nick Fury tries to talk sense into Spidey. Spider-Man Far From Home.
And it will be in Prague in approximately 48 hours.
We have one mission. Kill it.
Samuel L. Jackson is known for his profanity-laced dialogue, so it should come as no surprise that he decided to spice up his lines in Spider-Man Far From Home. This crops up in the scene in which he attempts to convince Peter Parker to help him and Mysterio defeat the Elementals. Initially, Peter is hesitant to lend a hand, quipping that the situation feels a little extreme for a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man like himself.
Mr. Fury, this all seems like big time. You know, huge superhero kind of stuff. And I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, sir.
Nick Fury doesn't skip a beat in reminding Peter that he's less than a year removed from being on another planet. And Jackson and Jake Gyllenhaal both confirmed that the former added a little something extra to ensure that line truly hit home.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
Number 7. Nick Fury sneaks a peek. Captain Marvel.
Hey, how's your eye?
Well, I'd say fine, but it can't believe what it's seeing.
Samuel L. Jackson strikes again. It turns out that one of Captain Marvel's funniest moments, and there were plenty, was improvised by the longtime MCU star. During the scene in which Nick Fury and Keller examine the now-deceased Skrull that had been impersonating Agent Coulson, Fury decides to check what's under the alien's proverbial hood. It's totally in line with the character's curious nature, and we wouldn't have been surprised to learn that it was in the original script. However, that little moment was all Jackson. Directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck loved the ad-lib and decided to keep it in the finished product. You'll hear no complaints from us.
Wow. They're ugly bastards, aren't they?
Number 6. Beyoncé, Doctor Strange.
Just Wong? Like Adele? Or Aristotle? Drake? Bono? Eminem?
The relationship that Dr. Stephen Strange and Wong share is one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's most underrated. Perhaps it's because both characters are played by actors named Benedict. One of their best moments also happened to be 100% improvised by Benedict Cumberbatch. According to Benedict Wong, Cumberbatch would throw all sorts of silly lines at him while filming, simply to see what kind of reaction he could provoke.
You're not ready for that. Try me, Beyoncé.
So, when Strange calls Wong Beyoncé early in the film, the latter's look of stoic confusion was not fake.
Come on. You've heard of her. She's a huge star, right?
The filmmakers doubled down on the joke later on, with Wong jamming out to Beyoncé's Single Ladies Put a Ring on It while reading. Number 5. Hey Auntie, Black Panther. You'd be hard-pressed to deny that Killmonger is one of the MCU's best villains. He's intelligent, ruthless, cares about his people, and has a backstory that audiences can sympathize with.
It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder. Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
The character was brilliantly portrayed by Michael B. Jordan, who clearly felt comfortable enough in Killmonger's skin to improvise this awesome line of dialogue. The ad-lib comes after meeting his relatives for the first time. During this shocking reveal, Jordan decided to throw a little salt in the wound, referring to the Queen Mother as Auntie with enough arrogance to make Thanos proud.
Hey, Auntie.
Number 4. Spider-Man's last words. Avengers Infinity War.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
You may want to break out a box of tissues for this next entry, because it's often considered one of the saddest in the history of the MCU. Having just lost to Thanos, Tony is stunned to see his comrades starting to disintegrate before his eyes. Spider-Man is one of the last ones standing, but soon collapses into his mentor's arms.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
His cries of "I don't want to go" were improvised on the spot, though director Joe Russo also deserves credit. Russo told Holland before shooting to, quote, "act like you don't want to go." Tom Holland turned the direction into dialogue, and his performance totally sells it.
Sorry.
Number 3. Gamora, Gamora, Gamora. Avengers Infinity War.
I'm gonna ask you this one time. Where is Gamora?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?
Hot take alert, Drax is the funniest character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Need proof? Just check out this scene in which he stupidly attempts to add something to a conversation between Tony Stark and Peter Quill, while lying beneath Tony's foot, we might add.
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
This iconic and hilarious line was made up on the spot by Dave Bautista, who slipped it in after a few days on set. The only lines that were actually in the script were the ones spoken by Tony and Peter. Drax's line was simply Bautista becoming one with his character. We tip our caps to this mountain of a man, and his ability to catch everything that goes over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy.
Number 2. He's a friend from work. Thor Ragnarok. Owing to the fact that this line was splashed across promotional material for Thor Ragnarok, you'd be forgiven for thinking it took a team of writers months to come up with. Alas, Thor's hilarious exclamation upon seeing Hulk on the planet Sakaar for the first time was in actuality the brainchild of, well, a child. A kid from the Make-A-Wish Foundation was visiting the set one day and told Chris Hemsworth that he should say the line when he encounters Hulk in the arena.
Hey! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Hemsworth loved it, director Taika Waititi loved it, and the rest, as they say, is history. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. I am Iron Man. Iron Man.
Been a while since I was in front of you. I figure I'll stick to the cards this time.
In the pantheon of iconic MCU lines, one stands above the rest.
I am Iron Man.
Tony Stark's declaration at the end of the first Iron Man movie is the stuff of legend, with the superhero breaking convention by throwing the well-worn trope of secret identities to the wind. The line is quintessential Tony, making it all the more shocking when you discover that Robert Downey Jr. made it up on the spot. The reaction from fans was instantaneous, with Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige later admitting that it inspired him not to be, quote, afraid to adapt and evolve and to change things. The line reappeared in Avengers Endgame, serving as the perfect bookend to Tony's character arc.
And I am Iron Man.
What's your favorite unscripted MCU movie or TV moment? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.
Keep up, old man.
Nobody would know. Nobody.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.